You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game.
What's up, everybody? It's Nick from the Lost River Drive-In here, and today I wanted to come to you guys to talk about the Saw franchise. And I wanted to talk about this because obviously we got the trailer for the upcoming Saw 10, Saw X, Sawx, Saw Patrol, whatever you want to call it. And with that trailer's release, it's got a lot of people talking about Saw again. And more specifically, reminiscing on this series and going back and looking at the movies and reevaluating them, or just the series as a whole. And I've seen some really wild takes about this franchise. And one of them being, there seems to be this prevailing thought by, groups of people that are like, why are we revisiting Saw? Why are we bringing this series back? This trailer, and it looks like it's straight out of the mid-2000s. It literally just looks like Saw all over again. What's the point? That's the point. That is exactly the point. This looks like Saw. Truly Saw. Not Spiral, not Jigsaw. This looks like Saw. Now, what do I mean by that, and why is that a good thing? But I really want to talk about this franchise as a whole briefly, and what it means, and why it's such a big deal that Saw, in its purest form, is back. Now, I talked about this in the podcast with Christian. The episode actually is dropping today when I'm dropping this video, so maybe you guys have listened to it, maybe you haven't, but these will run parallel together, was kind of the impetus for this video. But Saw is a franchise that we have not seen anything of this caliber since Halloween, Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street. And what I mean by that is, it was literally a yearly event. If it's Halloween, it must be Saw. We all saw those trailers. We all knew that. October came, a new Saw movie was coming. Up until Paranormal Activity really started to take over, for a good half decade or more there, it was Saw. This was a yearly thing, and a lot of people were going to see these movies. A lot of people liked these movies. The critics never did, but these movies made money. They got asses in the seat. So we have never seen a modern horror franchise like Saw. And I don't know if we will ever again in our, well, I shouldn't say in our lifetimes. There probably will be some down the road. But I don't think that people give this franchise enough credit. I really, really don't. Now, I understand if it's not your thing because people are basically just like, well, look, there's a lot of gross out gore. That kind of stuff just isn't for me. It doesn't sit well for me. I just can't handle that stuff. I totally get that. But what I can't stand is when people look at the Saw movies and label them as torture porn and completely write them off and say that they're stupid, they're implausible, they're messy. Look, you're not watching the movies. I mean, I genuinely don't think you're really watching the movies, if that is your take. The Saw movies, and to its detriment sometimes and to its credit, stick with continuity better than any horror franchise that I can think of. I mean, again, like I said, sometimes to its detriment and sometimes to its advantage, but they really keep their continuity. And that is a really big deal because you'll have plot threads from the first movie or the second movie showing back up in the sixth movie, the seventh movie, the eighth movie. That's really underappreciated. I don't think people talk about that enough. This is a family, editors and writers and producers that are getting their chance to direct years down the line a new Saw movie, and they're all working on these movies together, and they're going along on this journey together. Not everything in these movies is super plausible. Jigsaw, I'm looking at you. But there's a lot of plausibility in these movies. To write them off, I just feel like it's not fair to these movies, and I feel like you're missing out on a really, really good series, and quite frankly, I think the most popular since the big three. And I would have to think about that, but I really, really do believe that is the case. But I also want to talk about, when it comes to Saw, people just writing it off as, the grisly torture, gore, and all that. There is so much more to Saw. The Saw movies always say something. Admittedly, some of them better than others, absolutely. But they're always trying to say something. These movies are always an onion that have many layers that you have to peel back. and eventually you think you're going to get to the center and you don't. There's still more layers, and clearly we still have more because we're on the 10th movie. And that is really cool, and that's really unique. But what I specifically mean by saying something, look at the beginning, just the first movie. Dr. Gordon, a man that was cheating on his wife, that didn't care about his child, that was just a very cold and calculated doctor that didn't treat his patients like people. And his lesson was to appreciate his life. His lesson was to love those around him, to be kinder. And of course, nobody's saying that these traps they get put in are justified. No, there are better ways to tell somebody they maybe need to appreciate their life and be nicer. But what I'm saying is there was a message there for him in that movie. And then as the movies go on, in the second one with, Detective Matthews, it's about him not being such a hothead and him following instructions for once and him trusting somebody and him not acting off of impulse. And then Saw 3. I mean, there are so many messages throughout this movie. We even get even deeper with Saw 6 when we're talking about the healthcare industry in America and how broken it is and how it's corrupt. It's run by corrupt people doing corrupt things. And this franchise has so much to say. And I feel like too often it gets written off because people are like, oh, brain, oh, bones. Yeah. Okay, that's part of the draw and the allure of these movies. Probably the biggest draw. It's Tobin Bell and it's the traps. We get that. We understand that. But there is so much more there. It is so much deeper than that. And I'm not really trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. You know what I mean? I'm not taking a little thing and go, no, wait. There's a lot here. There really is. There really, really is a lot here. So I'm ranting and raving about that. But I just wanted to talk about this because I just genuinely feel like this series does not get the appreciation it so rightfully deserves. We are going on the 10th movie in this long-running franchise. And this franchise that has given us, inarguably, I think, the most iconic horror villain since the creation of Pinhead or Candyman in the late 80s, early 90s. And I make no bones about that. I genuinely do believe that to be the case. I think that Tobin Bell will forever be known as Jigsaw, as John Kramer. I think these movies will live on through generations. And I think that we are currently still in the midst of one of the biggest horror series ever. And I want people to appreciate that. Even if you're not a huge fan of the movies, don't immediately write them off because you think there's nothing there to say and it's just about blood and guts, because that is not the case. But also, it's an important moment in history. You don't see horror franchises thrive so long like this all the time. You really just don't. So Saw is in a league of its own in the last 20, 30 years. It just is. There's nothing that compares to it. It is one of the most iconic horror franchises ever. And I'm so glad that I've been able to witness a bunch of these movies in theaters. I'm going to be able to witness another one in theaters. And I've seen the ascension of Tobin Bell as one of the greatest horror villains in history. And then as far as with the newest trailer goes and some of the takes I've seen, it really has been split in the sense of, I don't think anybody has been down on the trailer and been like, that looks bad, which is great. I love to hear that, especially after Exorcist last week. That was fun. But it's been like, oh, sick. This looks like Saw again. I can't wait. And then the inverse of that. Oh my God. Saw again. Cool. I've seen this before, though. And I just want to say to that mindset, guys, that is what Saw fans want. That's what we've been asking for. I appreciate that they tried something new with Spiral, but it just didn't stick. I appreciate that they tried to reinvent it with Jigsaw, but it just didn't stick, and I just don't like that movie. I want them to go back to this. Saw fans want them to go back to this. The greenish, bluish cinematography, the jump cutting, the crazy chaotic editing, the super well constructed and absolutely visceral traps, the amazing iconic one-liners by John Kramer, Billy the Puppet riding the tricycle. We have wanted this. This is what we've been asking for. And as I said on the podcast, and I will continue to maintain this, if you're not a Saw fan, it's never going to be for you. At this point, 10 movies in, they are placating to the fans and the fans only. And if you're not a fan, this is just not going to be for you. But if you are a fan of the Saw movies in their purest form, I don't know how you could walk away from this trailer thinking anything other than Saw's back. Like, Saw's back. That doesn't mean the movie's going to be great, okay? Because there's Saw movies that felt like Saw movies that just weren't great movies at the end of the day. But this trailer told me Saw is back, and I am here for it. Like, absolutely 100% here for it. I can't wait to be in a theater and hear Hello Zepp start playing as a montage starts going and a bunch of twists get revealed and somebody gets left in a trap at the very end and somebody says game over and slams the door. I cannot wait for that. That alone does more to me than anything else in these movies. That alone, that third act reveal, Hello Zepp, all of it, I can't wait. I can't wait. So I just wanted to make this video to just kind of shed some light on this series and say that I just feel like it's never really gotten its day by a lot of people. And I think that it just gets written off because it's like, oh, Saw movies, they're so dumb. I just genuinely believe if you haven't watched them all, you just don't know. And maybe you haven't watched them all because you watched one or two of them and you're just like, I'm just not a big fan. And maybe it's the gore. Maybe it's the traps. Maybe it's just not for you. I can respect that. But please do not tell me these movies are just mindless violence with nothing to say and no point, because that is 100% false. It is just absolutely positively false. You're not watching them, or if you are watching them, you're just not paying close enough attention. So that's it, guys. I'm done with my little Saw rant now for the next, 7-8 weeks until the movie comes out. Can't wait to talk about it then. But if you guys haven't listened to the episode of the New Horror Podcast yet, go ahead and check that out. Christian and I discussed the Saw franchise, cover to back. And cover to cover, I guess they say, whatever. And it was really, really fun. I also wanted to give you guys a quick update. If you're not a patron of mine, go ahead and consider doing that today. I will put the link down below. And the reason I say that is because this To Hell and Back documentary that I'm working on, and by the way, I have spoken with Gary Tunnicliffe, and he wants to help. He wants to be a part of it, which is awesome. He's been doing the makeup effects on the movies since Bloodline. He directed Judgment. He's co-written some of the movies. He's a huge fan. I mean, incredible makeup effects artist. Gary is, and he's a great guy above all else. So I'm honored to have Gary's ear and his talents on board this project. But I just wanted to say, guys, that if you're not a patron, you should become one today. It's only $1 a month, and the reason I say that is because I'm going to be showing you guys what I'm doing along this process. You'll get clips, you'll get behind the scenes of me recording stuff, you'll just get updates, all of it. Like, you're going to be a part of it, and I want you guys to see it. This is the biggest thing I've ever done on my channel. One of the biggest things I've ever done in my life, right up there with having a child. I am scared shitless about it, in a good way though. I'm intimidated because I have a reverence for this material and I can't wait to do it. So that's it. Enough of me ranting. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know why you agree that Saw is such an iconic horror franchise and why you're so excited for Saw 10 and why you just think all the normies should shut up and let us go watch blood, guts, and viscera for 2 hours and smile gleefully while Hello Zepp plays and we bang our heads and cry tears of joy. Everything and anything down below in the comment section. I love you guys. Thank you so much. This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I am pulling out.